Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really fascinating, bit of a mystery almost, that surrounded Graceland for years.
Yeah, Graceland. It's more than just a house, isn't it? It's this huge cultural icon.
Absolutely, a landmark, really.
Yeah.
But there's this persistent idea, you hear it all the time, that Lisa Marie Presley actually sold Graceland way back in 2005.
Mm-hmm. That rumor just stuck around. And honestly, it's just not the full picture. It's a real common misconception.
So that's our mission today,
All right.
to kind of unpack what really happened. What did Lisa Marie actually give up in that deal? What did she fight to keep?
Exactly. We want to get you the real story behind this really misunderstood agreement. Because let's just say it up front. Graceland itself, the house, the land, it wasn't sold.
Not sold?
No, it was leased. And that distinction is, well, it's everything here.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We have to go back to 1977. Elvis passes away.
Right. The king is gone.
And surprisingly, maybe shockingly for many people, his estate was in pretty dire straits financially.
Yeah.
Almost bankrupt.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine now, but it was teetering on the edge, a real crisis. And that's where Priscilla Presley, Elvis's ex-wife, really stepped in, along with some key advisors.
They had to figure something out fast.
They did. They formed Elvis Presley Enterprises, EPE. And then they made a pretty radical decision for the time, opening Graceland to the public in 1982.
That was the move that basically saved it, wasn't it? Generating revenue, stabilizing things.
It was a huge gamble, but it worked. It kept the estate afloat.
Okay, so fast forward a bit. 1993, Lisa Marie turns 25.
Right, a key age. That's when she legally became the main heir to her father's estate.
But even then, it wasn't like she just got the keys in full control right away.
No, not exactly. There was still the Elvis Presley Trust running things. That was managed by Priscilla, the National Bank of Commerce, and their business manager, Barry Seagull. Lisa was the beneficiary, but they were technically in charge.
So she had the inheritance, but not the day-to-day control yet.
Precisely. But then, in 2003, Lisa Marie took a really proactive step. She restructured her own affairs and formed something called the Prominade Trust.
Okay, what was that about?
Think of it like her own legal structure, specifically to manage her inheritance. It essentially consolidated her control and gave her full oversight over her interests in the estate.
So that move gave her the power she needed for what came next.
Exactly. It really paved the way for that big 2005 deal.
Right, the 2005 deal. This is the one everyone talks about, the one that sparked the sold Graceland rumor. Let's break it down. Who was involved?
So this was February 2005. Lisa Marie Presley on one side, then on the other, this entrepreneur, Robert F.X. Sillerman, and his company, CKX, Inc.
CKX, okay. And what was the deal, exactly?
This is where the confusion really starts. What was sold was 85% of Elvis Presley Enterprises EPE, the business side.
85% of the business, that sounds like a lot. What was the value?
It was a huge deal, valued at roughly $114 million. But it wasn't just straight cash. It was about $50 million in cash, another $25 million used to pay off EPE's debts.
Okay.
Plus $26 million in CKX stock for Lisa Marie, and around $6.5 million paid separately to Priscilla for her name and likeness rights related to Elvis.
So, a complex package.
Yeah.
But the key point, the one we keep coming back to.
The absolute key point. Lisa Marie did not sell Graceland itself. The physical house, the mansion, the land it sits on, that remained 100% hers.
Okay, so what did CKX actually get for their $114 million?
They got control of the EPE operations. Think the Elvis brand management, all the licensing deals, the commercial properties associated with EPE, running the tours, the merchandise, basically the engine driving the Elvis business.
But not the house.
Explicitly not the mansion itself. It's like, selling the franchise rights but keeping the original iconic location.
Gotcha. So CKX, this company, what was their background? What did they plan to do with the Elvis brand?
Well, CKX was a pretty good media and entertainment company at the time. They actually owned American Idol, so they had serious ambitions.
Oh.
They saw Elvis as this massive, untapped global brand that they could really modernize and expand, make it even bigger.
And did they? What happened under their management?
Oh, yeah, there were major developments. This is when we saw the guest house at Graceland get built, that big luxury 450-room hotel right next door.
Right, I know the one.
And also Elvis Presley's Memphis, that huge museum and entertainment complex across the street, big investments, big changes.
So lots of commercial activity, lots of expansion. But through all that, the message about ownership stayed the same.
It did. And Jack Soden, who's been the CEO of EPE for, well, forever, he was very clear about it. There's a direct quote from him saying, "Lisa will always own Graceland. She has not sold her father's home."
That is pretty definitive.
Absolutely. It shows they were trying to strike a balance, grow the business, make it thrive, but without losing the soul of Graceland, as they put it, which was clearly Lisa's priority.
So let's nail this down. She owns 100% of the mansion, 100% of the 13.8 acres. What she agreed to was this 99-year lease. What did that lease actually allow EPE, under CKX and later owners, to do?
Right. The lease basically gave EPE the right to operate the Graceland estate for business and tourism. So running the mansion tours, managing the gift shops, the museums on the property, using the event spaces.
Okay.
And importantly, it gave them the rights for future expansion on the property, which is how things like the guest house happened.
But crucially, what did she keep beyond just the title to the house and land?
This is so important. She kept the house itself, obviously, and everything inside it, all of her father's personal belongings, the jumpsuits, the jewelry, the furniture, the archives, all of it remained hers, protected.
Wow. And not just the physical stuff, right? There's something else, a really significant right she retained.
Yes. Creative approval rights. She kept control over how her father's name, image, and likeness were used. That's huge.
It seems incredibly rare in a deal like this.
Yeah.
Giving up business control but keeping creative control.
Very rare. And Joel Shanker, who later became the main operator working with Lisa, really summed it up. He said, if something didn't honor her father, it wasn't happening. Period.
So she wasn't stepping away at all, really.
Not in the way people thought. She found partners to run the demanding day-to-day business, freeing her up to focus on protecting the legacy, the image, the core of what Elvis represented.
That makes sense. Okay, so things changed again later.
Yeah.
CKX didn't hold on to EPE forever, did they?
No, in 2013, CKX sold Elvis Presley Enterprises to another company, Authentic Brands Group, or ABG.
ABG.
Okay.
And that's when Joel Shanker really stepped into the picture more publicly.
Exactly. He became the managing partner, the public face of Graceland's operations, and he worked very, very closely with Lisa Marie.
What was his take on why Lisa Marie structured things the way she did? What motivated her through all these changes?
Shanker always emphasized her core motivation. He'd say things like, Lisa couldn't be bought, she wasn't in it for the money. For her, it seems, it was always, always about protecting her dad's name and legacy.
So their partnership was about careful growth.
Very much so. They worked together on the expansions, like the guest house and the Memphis complex, making sure it was done respectfully, always balancing the business needs with, honoring Elvis.
Okay, this brings us closer to the present. After Lisa Marie sadly passed away in January 2023, things got, well, complicated legally.
They did.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly, the legal battles that followed actually shed even more light on her intentions and the whole family dynamic. But to really get it, we need to rewind a bit again to some earlier tensions.
Right. There was some history there, particularly between Lisa and Priscilla.
Yes. A key point was something Lisa Marie discovered back in the 2000s. She found out Priscilla was getting paid a pretty staggering amount, $900,000 a year from the trust.
$900,000 a year? How?
Apparently, it was a deal set up by their business manager, Barry Seagull, the same one involved earlier. And crucially, Lisa said she never knew about it, never approved it.
Wow. Okay, that sounds like grounds for a major fallout.
It was. Lisa actually sued Seagull for mismanagement in 2009. The lawsuit claimed the trust was basically broke, left with only about $14,000 in cash and millions in debt.
And this impacted her relationship with Priscilla.
Deeply. Even though Priscilla wasn't the target of the lawsuit itself, the whole situation created a huge rift. Reports suggest Lisa and Priscilla barely spoke for years leading up to Lisa's death.
That background is pretty important context for what Lisa did next with her trust, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. In 2016, Lisa Marie made a significant amendment to her own trust, the Prominade Trust.
What did she change?
She explicitly removed both Priscilla and Barry Seagull as co-trustees, and instead she named her children, Riley Keough and Benjamin Keough, as the successor co-trustees.
Riley and Benjamin.
Yes. But then, tragically, Benjamin passed away in 2020,
Right.
which, under the terms of that 2016 amendment, left Riley Keough as the sole remaining successor trustee.
Okay, so Lisa Marie passes in January 2023. What happens then?
Well, that 2016 amendment suddenly became the center of a legal fight. Priscilla challenged it in court. She questioned its validity, its authenticity, basically trying to regain control as a trustee.
A very public dispute. How did it get resolved?
They reached a settlement in May 2023. The court confirmed Riley Keough as the sole trustee of her mother's trust, upholding the 2016 amendment.
So Riley is officially in charge. What about Priscilla?
Priscilla received a settlement package. It included a one-time payment of reportedly $1 million. Plus, she was granted her wish to be buried at Graceland. She also got a 10-year role as a special advisor to the trust.
Special advisor. Does that mean she has any control?
No, the reports are very clear on that. It's a non-controlling role. No ownership, no decision-making power over the trust or Graceland. And later, in August 2023, she sold her own home, which was connected to the trust financially, to settle some remaining obligations.
Okay, so after all that legal back and forth, where does Graceland ownership stand today? Who owns the mansion right now?
Right now, Graceland, the mansion, the 13.8 acres of land beneath it, and all of Elvis's personal belongings inside is owned jointly by Lisa Marie's 3 daughters.
Riley Keough.
And her younger twin sisters, Harper Vivian and Lockwood, and Finley Erin Love Lockwood.
All 3 daughters own it together.
Yes. But it's important to clarify what they don't own. They don't own the Guest House Hotel, they don't own the Elvis Presley's Memphis complex across the street, and they don't own the actual business operations of EPE.
Right, because that's still leased out and managed separately.
Exactly. Those operations are still managed by Joel Shanker's group under the terms that ultimately stem back to that original lease structure.
And what about the twins, Harper and Finley? Riley is the sole trustee, but they're owners too. How does that work?
Well, they are named heirs and beneficiaries, absolutely. But according to the trust terms Lisa set up, they can't actively participate in major decisions about the trust until they turn 25.
Okay, so until then.
Until then, Riley, as the sole trustee, acts in their best interest, managing the trust and Graceland on behalf of all 3 of them. It's exactly what Lisa Marie laid out.
And do they benefit financially? Did Lisa ensure that?
Oh, absolutely. Lisa made sure her daughters would continue to receive income from Graceland. A percentage of the revenue from things like ticket sales and merchandise flows into the Prominade Trust for their benefit.
So they get the financial upside without having to run the whole huge operation themselves.
Precisely. Graceland continues to support Elvis's direct family, which seems to have been Lisa's core intention all along.
So when you pull it all together, this whole story, it's not really about selling out, is it?
Not at all, I think. It looks much more like a really strategic balancing act. Lisa Marie made calculated choices. She gave up direct control of the business side of EPE.
Right, the operations, the branding deals.
Yeah, to bring in partners with the resources and expertise to make it grow, to ensure its survival on a global scale. But she held on ferociously to what mattered most to her personally.
The house, the land.
The house, the land, her father's personal things inside, and that crucial creative control over his image and legacy. She protected the heart of it all.
And ultimately, her wishes regarding who controls that legacy seem to have prevailed, with Riley now leading it for herself and her sisters.
Seems so. The structure she put in place, that 2016 amendment, held up. The core promise seems intact. Elvis comes first. His home, his legacy are being managed according to her plan.
So the bottom line, after all the rumors and confusion, Graceland is still in the family.
Still in the family. And in a way, Elvis still belongs to them. And, through Graceland being open, he still belongs to all of us, too.
So thinking about that 2005 deal, maybe the question isn't, did she sell out? Maybe it's, was it a betrayal? Or was it actually a pretty brilliant, maybe necessary move to make sure Elvis's legacy survived and thrived for generations to come?
That's the real question, isn't it? And regardless of the business deals, the leases, the trusts, Graceland is still a home. It always was. And it still is.